Up next is a panel discussion on the topic Retail in Transit, connecting brands, malls, and mobility hubs. This topic will cover mall perspective, integrating retail with mobility, the brand perspective, seizing transit opportunities, how to attract and retain customers, monetizing mobility, turning footfall into revenue, collaborative models, how brands, malls, and transit authorities can co-create vibrant spaces. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our moderator for this session, Mr. Sharad Nagpal, Senior Director, Head Retail Consulting and International Business Development, JLL India. Can we please give a huge round of applause? Our speakers for this session are Mr. Ravindra Chaudhary, Vice President, Unity Group and Vegas Mall, Samim Sheikh, Deputy Chief Architect, Delhi Metro Rail Corporation, Manik, Dhodi, Real Estate Director, Global Sales, Strategy and Expansion, Adidas India. And we have Sagar, Daryani, CEO from WOW, Momos. Can we please give a huge round of applause to our wonderful moderator and panelists on the stage, ladies and gentlemen. I believe we all had our lunch, right? Can you please give me a loud cheer for all our panelists on the stage? Thank you so much.
Thanks everybody, and thanks a lot to the panel. It's always a challenge to moderate a session immediately after lunch, but we'll try our best. So again, a very warm welcome to the panel. I'll start from by just setting the context. So transit retail, I think, has seen quite a bit of development as a concept over the years. I think it started as a facility to the transit retail customer. Slowly, as cities became more congested, and I think because public transport as a concept was trying to be made popularized by the government, the shift from a core transit retail to, I think, more of a neighborhood retail destination. I think this concept has seen over the last, especially in the last 7, 8, 10 years. And government has done a fantastic job, I think, in monetizing this opportunity. And not just monetizing, I would say, also to ensure how to make it relevant. So the initial transit retail centers probably were more of an afterthought. And I think slowly, these are becoming more integrated in the overall development and planning. So with that as a context, Ravindra, I would like to start with you, since you represent the development side and your group does a lot of work with DMRC. What is your opening comments on transit retail, and what are the challenges and what are the positives that you see?
Thank you so much, Sharad. This is for the first time that we are speaking on something which involves governmental bodies, PPP bodies, who are allowing us to do more of TODs in Delhi. So we currently operate close to 22, 23 stations retail, and we have tenants right from Amazon to a cinema to mall, MLCPs, and then to standalone structures of the nature of quick commerce, Blinkit, and others. So it's a long journey that we have traveled, and good that we have him representing the entire DMRC section with us. Delhi has always been taken aback, and lack of retail was always a problem with DDA, that they were not auctioning a lot of properties, and retail ratio for Delhi was always on the very low side. So DMRC came in, and then they leveled up the game, started off by giving commercial developments ranging from 20,000 square feet to 2 lakh, and then allowing people to do the entire property development on their own. And it's a long journey that we have traveled, and we have seen fantastic properties at metro stations. Pacific Mall is one. We have Rohini, Janakpuri, Botanical Garden, Noida, Huda City Center again. So these are iconic retail that have
Jasola.
come to the light, and they're doing fantastic locations.
Yes.
None of us could think of having a property at such a tight space, and all of a sudden now there are retail destinations that are created at these stations.
Right.
Hats off to the PD team whose effort has gone into convincing a lot of people around and creating good retail hotspots. I don't see one more center. So the last was Vegas, which was auctioned by DDA at that size, and I'm taking you back to 15 years. So 2010 when we we got that center, and post which there's nothing moved. But if you look at metro station, so NSP Pacific, which they are operating, is mid-COVID. Now we are doing one more property at DMRC.
Yes.
There are many stations which have come back.
A lot of them are in Faridabad, which
Correct. So
recently-
Faridabad,
and Jasola.
entire spirit. So good center, Jasola again.
Jasola, yeah.
And now NIT and other people are also chipping in. So I think beyond DDA, they have opened a window for us to create more retail spaces. And with the congestion coming in, so metro gives you that additional advantage of not commuting by your own car. You can use public conveyance, straight away come to the center via concourse, you shop, you go back.
Correct.
So for a neighborhood of a range of 15-20 kilometers, so metro becomes the lifeline. And going forward, people will be more happy commuting through metros, straight away coming to the center and going back home.
Correct.
Rather than exploring a lot of things around.
Correct.
And they are only ones who are looking at a lot of infra. So right from a Rajiv Chowk to smallest of the centers, Faridabad, you rightly mentioned 5 stations, back to back. So they are, I would not say more than 2 kilometers apart. And you see action at every station.
Correct.
So all your affordable retail, value retail, D2C, even I saw a gym also opened at a metro station now, and they are performing really well. So hats off to what you've been contributing.
No, absolutely, absolutely. No, thanks. So Samim, I would like you to come in and share your experience since you have been with DMRC for almost 12, 13 years now, and you've done on the consulting feasibility side, and now you're helping them develop it further on the PD side. We have all the stakeholders. We have retailers in Manik and Sagar. We have a developer in Ravinder in Unity. So what has been your experience, right, in terms of transit retail, and what are the new initiatives which the government is taking on the TOD side, right? If you can just throw some light upon that, what we were discussing off the line earlier.
So thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak here. Mostly the retail transit that DMRC has entirely changed, as he mentioned, that the quality of spaces that we have created in and around the metro station is approachable. People can travel via the metro, get down and go inside the retail space and have their own activities, whatever it is. Maybe going to a food court, maybe going for a leisure walk, maybe using the plaza that they have created. So this kind of activity was first of its kind, in Delhi Metro, and this has helped us also increase the ridership to a certain extent. Not only the normal commuters, but increasing the ridership. So that has been a learning point for us. Apart from that, creating the spaces along with the metro station while in the designing stage is quite a bit essential for us, which is not the entirely mandate for us from the government, but to create non-fare box revenue, as well as creating a good livelihood for the people in and around the metro station, for the commuters as well as for the developers. It's very essential, and we have tried to understand that. And after that, regarding the TOD that you have asked, the government is totally pushing forward to develop TOD zones and TOD nodes in and around metro station. The live example would be we are working towards the approval of IZPs of Anand Vihar and Sarai Kale Khan. So where we are trying to develop a huge development which comprises of housing, commercial, PSPs, as well as multimodal integrations through railway, through ISBT, through metro, and through RTS.
And these are what size in terms of land area? What will be the?
These are, I think, approximately around 30 acres of land,
Right.
And
With a FAR of 5.
yeah, with a FAR of
Wow.
capping FAR of 5 with a
Right.
ground coverage of more than 50%.
It's a very substantial development.
It's a very substantial. I think once the development takes place, it will be in the range of maybe around 5,000, 6,000 crores that we are talking about,
Right.
and that will be totally lent out to the developers. So how they want to develop with the mix that has been approved in the IZP. So these are the things that the government is looking forward to, and let us see that how well we can capitalize those things in terms of the non-fare box revenue of the metro or the other transport system, as well as from the developer side.
Right.
So that
No, that's a very interesting thought. I'll come back to you in that before I'll take, some feedback from Manik and Sagar. So Manik, to begin with you, you have outlets of Adidas at quite a few transit retail corridors, right, in Delhi. And I'm sure you will have it, in other cities also. What has been your experience and certain challenges, which I'm sure there will be challenges, but what has been your experience? And I think from a customer point of view, has that experience evolved over the years? Has it become better in certain cases as you see more better planned developments coming rather than them being an ad hoc or an arbitrary development, which has just been, sent to a bidder, whoever comes and takes it, then it becomes more of a high street, right? It just become an offshoot of an high street. But what has been your experience? And do you see an increase in sales also with the experience improving? Like we see mostly in malls, which are, built better, planned better, which are run better. So do you see those kind of similarities in transit retail corridors also?
Sure, thanks, Sharad. So multiple questions packed in one very nicely.
Sure.
See, the experience yes, we are present in multiple metro stations, and we also have a journey which we are seeing. There are certain metro stations where the response is phenomenal. It's outstanding, and even the customer experience is great. But at the same time, there are certain metro stations where, while you have taken the possession and you start your store, we also realize that there is certain development work that starts with DMRC or the local authorities after we have started the operations, which in certain cases has disrupted the business quite significantly.
Right.
Okay. In some cases, we have got support, but I realize we get support from the developers who have been very supportive, because there is a certain guarantee that they have with the DMRC. So, and their approval and support through DMRC also takes time. And these constructions go for long. They take at least 1.5 to 2.5 years. That is enough period for us to book our losses and shut the store.
Oh.
Okay, to be able to continue running the store and over the operational loss, it's not an easy thing to do. That is one challenge which we do face in certain properties. At the same time, what we also realize, and I wouldn't blame the gentleman sitting next to me for that, because in a conversation when I was sharing my heart with him, he expressed that most of the centers of DMRC metro stations are first designed like metro stations, and retail is always planned later, obviously because the government has a deadline to open the metro station.
Right.
I think a very good win-win situation would be when retail is also part of the master planning. I don't know what magic will this man do here. But until this is a part of master planning, because in some metro stations, we have a high street store. So we get the benefit of being on the high street. But if in some stations, it's inside. We talk about great footfall or very heavy footfall in metro stations, but that footfall necessarily is not buyer, right?
Right.
It is as similar to India की population 1.5 billion है, लेकिन वो 1.5 billion में से shopper कितने हैं ये किसी को नहीं पता.
Right.
And when global corporates talk about, or the global economists in sessions outside India talk about the India population, I think this is something that most of them forget.
Right.
That is where we come in the picture. हमें मालूम है population में से खरीदेंगे कितने लोग. It's the same story in a metro station. The footfalls are humongous in some metro stations, but necessarily it's not the footfall who's going to buy. So the designing of these metro stations is very essential.
Yes.
At the same time, I think the metro authority or whoever their governing bodies, because I realize they also have their own targets. अभी तक मुझे लगता था उनका तो target होगा नहीं. This is an add-on. But they have their own targets. But the more transparent conversations happen and they are able to understand the pain points, I think we can do much better work.
Right.
I will not name metro station, but there's a commitment that happened with people. We've opened in seeing the documentation, but he could not get any of the other brands to open in 1.5 years. You know, and I know he's trying his part. Somebody's somewhere else, but it's not converting. So if these conversations are transparent, I think we'll be able to achieve much better. Even as brands, we will have more confidence.
Yes.
Which is very tricky right now.
Right.
So right now my confidence is depending upon my trust on the developer.
Correct. Who's the bidder?
Exactly. If
Yeah,
it's an unknown developer, I will not take my chances there.
Yeah. No, these are very good insights. Sagar, coming to you, your format, I think it's all pervasive. I see your format in food courts, as standalone, as quick impulse, especially in transit corridors. And I think yours is such an impulse category. But how has your experience been specifically to transit retail corridors? And what have been your learnings, be it in setting up the store, running the stores, because the operation times are also very different, right? These are longer operation times, so probably you have to do double shifts at some places depending upon the times also, right? So what has been your experiences and learnings that we can take, if you can share?
You know, our tagline in Wow Momo, before we even started thinking about transit retail, was Momo on the move, right?
Wow.
Where it's a finger product, it can go on the move. It's quick to eat. But, thanks to partners like Pacific, Unity, we are largely in most parts of transit retail when it comes to metros in Delhi NCR. We are there in more than 20 airports now across the country.
Right.
Let's talk about the current generation, which is the Gen Z, right? For Gen Z, the name for transit, they have their own language, right?
Yes.
Would be Zippy. If they want to have Momo fast, it would be Zumo, right? So I think we are living in an era of quick commerce. We are living in an era of Gen Z, and Gen Z will be your larger consumer base going forward.
Yes.
They want things fast. They have less patience. They are more deal seekers. They want value for money.
Right.
So with that generation, which is going to be your future audience for earnings to come in, right? I think transit retail is a very good model to have compact formats. Where you can even club formats. Rather, we've also now experimenting of having a Wow Momo and a Wow Kulfi together with limited menu, because the service has to be faster.
Yes.
Has to be quicker, right? Turnaround time has to be fast.
Right.
So, have your 5 fastest SKUs, which you can deliver in less than 2 minutes, less than 3 minutes, because ultimately you have to take out maximum juice from that small area by getting maximum rotation than serving more and more people.
Right.
With less labor cost.
Right.
So ultimately, it all boils down to unit economics, speed of service, and your efficiency.
Yeah.
So I think for food, it works very well. I think, especially for a format like ours, which is finger food, Desi Chinese, works very well.
Yes.
I understand where Manik is coming from. For retail, it's a very, very big challenge.
Yes.
See, food again will do well. Rather, for us, we have a very different problem today, and that is what I was discussing. That for us, people are not wanting to come out and eat. They want to order the same food at home, have it in the comfort of the ACs.
Right.
House parties have become more prominent. So transit retail becomes a good medium to catch audience on the go and get that dine-in sale, because dine-in is where the revenue is. In delivery, you're paying that same commission for the same Momo that guy was earlier eating at your store, waiting in a small store, waiting for his or her turn to come, but now ordering at home as per their convenience, right? So I think it's a good medium, but then what I've seen is that the success to failure ratio is 50-50. Definitely we back the developer. We know that, if a strong developer is there, he or she will make it happen.
Absolutely.
But there are many of the properties which is not backed by a developer, but it's a very hot zone. It's a very prime zone. It's there in a heat map.
Yes.
So it's a punt that we take.
Yeah. Because then you're dependent upon the
for
population.
Those formats, what we do, the kiosk that we put up
Yeah.
is more of a, dismantleable kiosk, where the
You can
capex loss
take
is
it.
very low.
Yeah.
If it's a store, we try and, go about the capex where, even if I have to shut the store in 2 years' time,
For
I
de-risk
should have
also.
bare minimum losses.
Yeah, de-risk.
It works for our model. It might not work for many international chains. So again, I think it's something that the Indian QSR brands can take advantage of and build their synergy. We've done some stores for the first time ever inside Burger King in these transit locations.
Wow.
Why? Because they could not get maximum rent to revenue ratio. They had to sublease it to us. We got the benefit of their seating.
Right.
So imagine how an international chain was also able to do a shop in shop with us.
So that's a very interesting thing. So Ravinder and Samim, I don't know whether such clauses are always there for the eventual lessee. I know there is a lessee, sub-lessee, sub-lessee, to actually give a part of your existing space to another retailer. right? You're not,
Might not be
you,
in
you might
malls.
be, yeah.
It might not be in malls,
Correct.
but then what happens is that the food operation is taken up by a larger
Yes.
vendor largely, right?
Yes.
It's not a developer.
Yes.
Like in the case of Pacific Unity, it will be them leasing it
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
Right?
then
There
it's
it
easy,
might be
yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
But there are many such metro stations which is given to a one single large player
Correct.
who brings in multi-brands within them.
Yes.
So it's an understanding between the brand and the operator because
Yes.
the DMRC or anyone else is just concerned with the revenue coming to
With
them.
the revenue,
right?
yeah.
And I think to make it a win-win, it has to be survival of all. Right? So I think everyone understands that. The good thing is that today people are rational about what they pay out as a rent to revenue ratio.
Correct.
Because ultimately you're doing business to make money, right? And
Yes.
the pressure of delivery commissions being so high, you need that dining in traction coming at the right revenue ratio.
Yeah.
Right? And even delivering from metros is a challenge. But
was
the good
about
part
to
is,
mention,
but
yeah.
the good part is that you get flow of crowd going in. So how are you able to catch that flow of crowd? How are you able to operate at the right times? How are you able to serve different cuisines during different? So for example, we would sell a lot of thalis in lunch, but breakfast would be momos, and again evening snacking would be momos.
Right.
Dinner would again be bowls.
Right.
The momo combination. So how are you able to play that out better? Your menu mix, determining your right food cost to get the right PNL is very, very important.
Right.
A lot of learnings for sure. Again, it's very different from for every city.
Yes.
Again, I
And
think
location to location.
North India, Delhi NCR has cracked it very well.
Yes.
I think in Mumbai, we did a few metro stations. We are still struggling with it. The guys, the larger operators who've taken it are also struggling with it.
Yeah, because I think that is also because the entire line is yet to get operational, so you don't have the critical mass of travelers, right? But I think in Mumbai, my gut is that once it's operational, then it will just be at another level, because a lot of people actually use public transport in Mumbai, unlike Delhi. Right, Delhi does use. I was discussing with Samim. We are already touching 77 lakh ridership for metros, daily ridership, right? And soon we should hit 80 lakhs. That's a humongous number.
You know, in Bombay, the local train has
Yeah.
become such a lifeline, and
Yeah.
now those trains are getting upgraded to air-conditioned train
Yes,
because
yes,
they feel the
yes.
challenge of what
Yeah,
metro
yeah.
could hold for them.
Yeah.
And within the IRCTC to get a location, indirectly it's like a mafia kind of a setup, right? You can't get through if you don't have a
Right.
middleman doing
Yeah.
it for you, because as a brand we cannot pay upfront that
Yes,
amount of
yes,
money, right?
yes.
And I'm being very, very practical. I'm actually
Sure.
giving you the practicality of the situation. So I think Delhi NCR has adapted to metro very well because there was no alternative. In Bombay, I still feel a challenge because metro is here. I mean, the railways, the local trains are
local
here to
trains
stay.
are-
They're getting upgraded, and it will be a catch-22 situation, to be honest.
No. So Samim, you and Ravinder. So what I understand from Manik and Sagar is that, and from the retailer side, that I see there are different worlds that exist within this retail. It's very format dependent. So while a QSR would want least dwell time, you come, eat, and you are out in 5 minutes, so that you're more churning you do revenue per table. Whereas in case of Manik, and certain other full-fledged or a casual diners, it's more about experience, so that you spend more time. My sense is that people are spending less and less time socializing in the old sense. They're mostly on Insta and other things, or there are closed door parties. So how do you attract them? How do you make them sit for half an hour, 45 minutes and consume in an environment? So I see actually a transit retail as a platform wherein they're anyway out, and you just extract that 20, 30, 40 minutes, which most cafes are doing, and maybe then they will spend 10, 15 minutes extra in an Adidas store and probably buy something.
So you rightly said, Gen Z is very, very fast mover. They are adapting to things very, very quick. Like he said, so they want everything at a pace.
Yes.
So their life is moving at a pace. Taking 40 minutes or a 50 minutes from him would require a lot of effort from the infra developers. So unless I am able to create an experience zone for him, so now our focus is also changing. We want to create more experience spaces, and shopping will be a byproduct. So the centers are made in a way that they feel lively, they feel inclusive, and they are more welcomed in a part. And then it is up to them whether if they are enjoying in that zone, they will shop, they will eat, they will spend more time, they will call for friends. And yes, the culture of dining in at their home, dining at their own premises has increased. But on the contrary, I will say even people are spending out time of eating out has increased.
Yeah.
Time of ordering from outside increased. And there are more people in restaurants who are young in nature.
Yes.
And that is where you see your all-day diner culture getting popped up. हो सकता है सागर के लिए ब्रेकफास्ट 8 बजे का होता हो, मेरे लिए 11 बजे का होता हो, कोई बंदा 3 बजे सो के उठा है, वो मॉर्निंग में फर्स्ट मील ले रहा है. So it is very, very dynamic. So it has become a challenge for retail also and for F&B especially. Coming back to how we can make jointly as our property developers, if we could be a part of DMRC in the nascent stages, we could be inclusive in their design discussions. We could, before the tender goes out, if developers or prospect guys could be called in and
Certain stakeholders.
Their responses are taken in. Like we were discussing earlier, हर property में retail हो ज़रूरी नहीं है.
Correct.
हर property में F&B हो सकता है.
Yes.
So बहुत सारी properties का ingress egress इतना tight है कि वहाँ two wheeler ही पहुँच सकता है.
Exactly.
But that doesn't take anything away from the property.
Yes.
It is purely in the interest of DMRC कि अगर वो 10-15 लोगों के साथ उस study को, उस pinpoint को ज़्यादा closely read कर ले,
Correct.
तो वहाँ पर हम F&B करें, retail करें, कौन लोग ज़्यादा बेहतर कर पाएंगे, उस हिसाब से क्या मेरा infra होगा.
Absolutely.
जैसे DMRC is only limited till PD. प्रॉपर्टी डेवलप कर दिया और फिर छोड़ दिया. रेस्टोरेंट वालों को 50 सीटर के बाद 2 फायर एग्जिट चाहिए. क्या उस प्रॉपर्टी में अवेलेबल होंगे? फिर मेरे पास फायर एस्केप रूट नहीं है, 6 मीटर का मेरे पास फायर कॉरिडोर.
Delivery, he made such a good point. Delivery has become such a big thing now.
नॉट जस्ट डिलीवरीज सर, फायर टेंडर मूवमेंट मेट्रो में जरूरी नहीं है 6 मीटर का आपको कॉरिडोर मिलेगा कि नहीं मिलेगा.
Absolutely.
उनके मिलने के बाद आपको इनग्रेस एग्रेस है कि नहीं है, हम 24 घंटे सर्विस कर सकते कि नहीं कर सकते स्टेशन को. फिर सबकी अपनी जो टेक्निकल नुआंसेस, एसटीपी ईटीपी के लिए मेरे पास जगह है या नहीं है, कॉमन में फीड नहीं कर सकता, लगा सेपरेटली ऑपरेट करना है, उसके अपने नुआंसेस हैं. सो the more and more we will become inclusive with their architectural planning, suggestion making.
Yes.
I think we have come a long way. So from 2002 when Delhi witnessed first metro to 2024, in 22 years we have come a long way.
Long way.
And believe me, we have seen changes. The teams are very aggressive. They are, so you can't treat them like any other government office.
Yeah.
They are very, very progressive. They are here to listen. The CEOs and the MDs who are being appointed, they are purely commercial in nature. They understand how will they make money and how will they survive the entire game. So it is just that we all need to come on one page, become more inclusive in their architecture planning, in their station planning. And we are not saying that we want to plan DMRC for you. Stations, you are good, you do it. But wherever we could be a part, suggesting you retail and F&B, I think this is where we should look at.
Right. Samim, your thoughts on this, then I'll come to Manik.
Yeah, I would like to mention that, the vision of DMRC is, commuting experience in DMRC is to be a customer delight. So once you're talking about, pushing in retail or pushing in some facility inside the metro station, it should align with those customer or passengers that we are talking about. And once we have come such a long way developing PD, we try to understand what is the motto of the people, how they are trying to portray. And I'll tell you that still now, around 60 to 70% of the people that are using the metro stay in the premises for less than 6 to 8 minutes.
Right.
So we have to capture those 40%, and encash those 40%, that how to treat them in a customer way so that they can use and capitalize this development that we do. I understand the development of architectural plans during the nation state, but I'll tell you that in Singapore it happens. It is the land parcel is given to the developers, and then they develop the entire structure. But still, we as a developing country are still less backwards than them. But definitely it will come into being. Maybe down the line in phase 5 or 6, we'll see such development happening, where we see that our metro stations are being developed by the developers, and we use the metro and they can use the commercial thing. But this thing needs steer up from the government, right? Right across, metro authority will not be able to just change all those things overnight. So this thing happens step by step and phases by phases. So I'd like to say we are trying hard to develop those spaces architecturally. What you see in phase 3 of our station and phase 4 that is already coming up, we see a better arrangement of the PD areas, but definitely it's a long way to go. Yeah.
Thanks. Manik, from an athleisure category, what I have observed is that like one of the most recent stores in Faridabad is, if I'm not wrong, is almost 11,000 square feet, right? I also see, because it's a liquidation store, right? So when you talk to your principals and you try and explain them how the country is evolving, the retail real estate is evolving, And transit retail is now become, I think, a very big alternative, right, to traditional high streets and malls. It's a an asset within itself now. So is your box size also evolving? Is your business model also evolving? The ratio of fresh to 1 season, 2 season old. How are you, and you and your principals, you guys are discussing on those lines to increase the penetration of brand and increase revenues?
Your question is particularly to do with evolution in India only,
Yeah,
or you are
India,
relating this to outside India
No,
also?
no, not India. India. Because I think India is a very different world.
In true sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay, so the outlet business for us is also not purely liquidation.
Okay.
Okay, as per our global guidelines, even in a factory outlet, our average discounting should not exceed a certain number.
Right.
And trust me, it should not ideally go beyond 50-54% for annual year. Okay, if I have to do that, which means I'm being compelled to do that, which is either because there is not enough footfall, or the footfall is even more price sensitive.
Right.
Which in my case gives me a hit on the P&L. Okay, so that's the first thing that what happens. Yes, certain metro stations have evolved and they are going to a very different level. The kind of business that we are getting in Neelam Chowk metro station, Faridabad and Chhatarpur. In fact, Chhatarpur for us is called a premium outlet.
Oh.
And every time we have global visitors coming to India, that is one of the first stores they go and see. Because we want to showcase that, how beautifully that was designed. The product range is very vast, and that also has full price articles also for us.
Right.
The global completely understands that, but what they are not able to understand is if in like-minded countries or countries with similar geographies and cultures, the rentals for like-to-like property will be comparatively lesser. But if the rentals are similar, the turnover is 5 to 10 times more.
Yes, yes.
The appetite of consumption is much higher.
Much higher.
In almost any country.
Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Bangkok.
Any of that,
Yeah,
even Tokyo. And there are in these countries, you can have 3 concept stores, 3 stores of fresh merchandise within a 1 kilometer radius, and the sales would still be growing. And you will also have a 25,000 square feet of Foot Locker. We'll also have a 35,000 square feet of JD Sports, and everybody's still growing. The volumes are much higher. What they don't understand is that the population of India is not the benchmark for the turnover.
Yes.
So वो double whammy हो जाता है.
Exactly.
Population भी ज़्यादा है, लेकिन फिर भी a different city is able to do much high turnover. Obviously, we were earlier a franchise model. We are also doing COCO stores now.
Yeah.
We are almost 80 stores now. So the understanding is much higher. Franchisee model used to be much simpler to execute because we realized the partners had become experts in the business,
Yes.
which we are learning today.
Yeah.
Even after running COCO stores for now 5 years, I think we are still learning. So they understand, they are supportive. What breaks the game here is the consistency of numbers in growth. Metro station नया खुला, हम जो भी assumption बनाते हैं, वो assumption कोई भी 3 metro station में same नहीं होती. वो assumption कोई भी 3 mall में भी similar नहीं होती, even if they have lot of similarities.
Yeah.
That is where a disconnect happens, and there is no written model for it.
Yeah.
Every metro station is a different child altogether,
Yeah,
and it will have its own lifespan. सबकी geography अलग है. They are supportive, and they are supportive because one, they believe in India, they believe the team Adidas India, and they appreciate transparency.
Yeah.
So it's growing, and I think it's still a long way to go.
Yeah. I think because globally in all these locations, there's so much of influx of tourists and tourist population round the year now. Earlier it was seasonal, but I think it's now round the year. And lot of percentage of those sales, which are 5x, 10x India sales, lot of that is because of foreign tourists coming in.
See India is not a tourist deficit country.
Exactly, that's what I
ठीक है
said,
ना?
the global, yeah.
But it's the spending patterns of locals outside India which are much higher because of their dispensable income.
Yeah.
That is where the gap lies here. Also, the cost of real estate in India is obnoxiously high. Matlab, you are paying similar to what New York is paying.
Yes.
So I don't even blame the developers for that.
Yeah.
If they are purchasing at a certain premium, they have to, matlab, minimum break even करके profit तो निकालना है. That is what the biggest gap in India is.
Right.
As compared to any other country. I mean, imagine if you are comparing your real estate prices with New York and Singapore, तो उसके आसपास का business तो होना चाहिए ना?
I know.
कोई relation ही नहीं है उससे.
I know. We still have a long way to go. Sagar, just on the last bit now on the discussion, but your thoughts, I mean, you spoke about the model, the impulse, the Gen Z and all, but how do you see, because your product is a very difficult category, right? And you're competing with online commerce and all. So how do you try and keep your costs down? And does the transit retail in a way allows you as a platform where your costs can still be manageable, right? Your overheads can be still be manageable, and yet the revenue, the rent to revenue is also very different as compared to the malls. Or is there a higher delta on the revenue in transit retail, because especially in your category?
So largely, I think in these locations, we are more on a revenue share model where minimum guarantee is slightly lower.
Right.
I think the bigger cost is that because it's such a value format that your cost of goods sold has to be very well managed, right? In our business, 1 rupee saved is 5 rupees earned, right?
Yes.
So I think today in Wow Momo, we've got a gross margin of 72%, right? So that 28% COGS, how can that come down to 25 is the next goal. And that's how, what makes that happen again is, mechanization. So today we have robotic fryers in the stores, which reduces labor. At the back end where the momos are made, we are now talking about a factory where lights will be off and automatic momos will be made without a labor being there.
Yeah.
So you have to cut costs, for which technology becomes a very, very big part. I mean, today we're talking about a Momo vending machine, ATM, anytime momos, right? How can you do that? But, more than that, I think our cost is a journey that we learn to manage over time, right? And you can do that only with scale. More than that, one thing I want to really highlight here is that we all know about Japan having the, having a declining population, people not getting married, aging population, and, very depressive in nature.
Yes.
The new trend there so the maximum crowd that you get in weekdays in Japan is in the railway stations there. The trains start on time, it ends on time.
Yeah.
Now, in these stations, the new trend is Comic-Cons coming in, Comic-Con clubs and Comic-Con bars opening just to entertain people and make them laugh, make them enjoy. So today there was an article in Economics Time which said that, people are going to watch less of movies and more of live shows and live performances.
Yes.
If we can get that kind of a model in these locations, might not be very big, very large. Like, I don't want a location for a Coldplay to perform. I want a local guy to come and perform who's a local hero who can entertain he or she for that period. You will see the Gen Z getting glued to it because people want new experiences.
Yes.
Gone are the days. Content watching can happen at home on Netflix now. You want real content, you want Comic-Cons, you want live performances.
Right.
That is where if we can create these Comic-Con clubs, bars, or a coffee shop having that, or even for us with QSR, if you can take a larger area and do that, make it more experiential, but with real live performances, where obviously, we'll need support from everyone and everywhere, because like Ravinderji said, the location has to be feasible for such things to happen. Right? So we need to build it in that way. But that is where I see the real opportunity, because Gen Z has a very short span of attention.
Yes.
If you can grab them, they are there to stay. If you can't grab them, they will just move on, and then they will only come to you to have a coffee or to have a Momo. But if you want them to stay and spend more, you have to keep them glued. We have to do things differently. What has got us till here will not get us till there.
Absolutely.
Times are changing, we need to change.
Absolutely. And I think it has been a great insights, from all of the panelists. Thanks a lot. We have very few minutes. Anybody in the audience has any questions, please feel free to ask. I think the lunch hangover is still on. So with that, thanks a lot to all the panelists. I think it was a great discussion, and I hope we all learned something
I
new
think you've
today.
done a great job moderating, because you've answered all everyone's questions. There are no questions.
No, you guys answered.
I want to
just
say
asked.
that as well, Sharad. Great job done.
No, thank you. Thanks everybody.
Thank you, Sharad, for exceptionally moderating the session, and a heartfelt thank you to all our panelists. Can I request you to stay back, please, for a group photograph? And Sharad, can I request you to kindly felicitate each of our speakers with a token, please? Can we have the felicitation honors? Can I now invite Ms. Reema Punya, Conference Head at Mapping India, to kindly felicitate our moderator, Mr. Sharad. Thank you so much to our team. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Thank you for your contribution towards Mapping India 2025.